something about her. I'm not a class.
Huh?
What happened to Gertie Pig?
I said, I can tell you about Diane Scroggins, and I'm not a class member.
That's okay. You don't have to be a class member.
I'm like 5 years old. She's like 3. We living in the same apartment complex. And she threw a brick down on my little toe and just busted and squished it all to pieces. And I never would forgive her for it for years until she married me. One time I told her I forgive her. She acted like she forgot about it for a minute. She said, no, I didn't.
Anybody else want to talk about Diane? All right, I knew this one's going to be a while. Bob Shirley.
Gertie Pig. We never did Gertie Pig.
All right, let me back up to Gertie Pig. I thought we did. I thought we did, but
No, we didn't. Started.
we didn't do Gertie.
Maybe that's when we
Henry,
took
did
the
we do
vote.
Gertie Pig?
Huh?
Okay, Henry knows.
Who's that?
Gertie Pig.
Yeah, I remember Gertie.
I think we broke right when we brought her name up.
I think we did already.
Come from a nice family.
All right, let's move on. Bob Shirley. Yes, ma'am.
Warner and did y'all know that Bob Shirley played football at Auburn? Because we didn't know that. Well, we didn't know that till his funeral. I don't know how we missed that, but we reconnected with him. You know, he never came to any of our reunions. The 5th or the 10th or whatever, even the 20th. And so we reconnected, and Warren and I have been very, very close to Bob and Mary and their children, and of course Angie and his family. So we did go to his funeral, and Bob, you know, was an attorney, and then he became a judge, and he was just very well respected. He retired about a year ago, and they moved to Auburn, Alabama, and bought a house there. And I think that he was probably happier than he'd been in a long, long time. So we miss him.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I think, didn't he come to our reunion at the smokehouse?
Yeah, we'll give him the
I think
50.
he did. We visited with him, his
Yes.
wife, and really enjoyed him. And I always thought he was the most handsome. He was
Well, he was more handsome in
good
college.
looking.
I mean, in high school.
He was.
Nice looking guy.
Shirley.
Yeah,
Yeah, I knew Bob from first grade. He's been my best friend ever since that time. I saw this little first grade boy, very good looking kid, brown hair, really good tan. And I'm like, I got to get to know that guy. It turned out he lived a couple blocks from me, lived next door to Lucy Vaughn, Patty Harrell, Susan, Weldon Allen, Les lived around the corner. Yeah, I mean, we always got together with all those people at parties. But yeah, Bob, I could go on and on about all the adventures that we had. One thing that Jenny said, Bob and I have been watching the Disney thing with the two boys and decided we were going to be blood brothers. So we got a knife and he cut his hand and there was bleeding, and I'm like, I ain't doing that. Spinning Marty, yeah, he was like that. He was very brave, even as a little kid. And yeah, he went to Auburn, and he was a walk-on. He walked on, and you hear him tell him he was just, like cannon fire for the Auburn's. I'm not sure how much playing time he got, but he was really. It was really great to be. Wow.
I didn't know that.
To be a member of the Auburn football team, that was really amazing. And then he got out of school, sold insurance. I don't know how he got into law, but at some point he decided to do that. And he was just loved being a judge. I lost contact with him for years and years, and except for the occasional Christmas thing. But I went to see him about 3 years ago, and we so looking forward to seeing him again.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Bob was just, he was just an all-around great guy. I guess everybody loved him. I don't know, he was just a friend to everybody.
Bob and I almost shared a birthday. My birthday's on the 25th and his was on the 26th of April. And we used to, since we reconnected through the reunions, we started sending text messages to each other on our birthdays. But when we did reconnect, we acknowledged to each other that we always thought about the other person on the birthday. And he's told me, he says, you know, I never have forgiven you that you are older than I am. And I told him the last time I saw him, I said, well, you can have that honor if you want. So anyway, he was precious. So.
Oh, but the trivia, Barbara Kelly and I had exactly the same birthday, June 12, 1946.
Yes, sir, Bebo.
I hope you'll bear with me. We moved to Yazoo City in '55, and Sterling was there, fourth grade. Church, we were in church together. Church all the way through, you know. Bob went off to Auburn, and being the spiritual giant that I was, I decided I'd pray for Bob while he was at Auburn. I prayed for Bob fairly regularly for 2 years. I said, this ain't working. I'm going to give up on this one.
When did you pray, Bebo?
When did I pray?
I know, what did you pray?
When did I pray?
I mean, what?
I prayed that God would change his life. He was a good boy. He was a good guy, but he
wasn't in, okay, I got it now.
He didn't show great interest in love the Lord, read the Bible, you know, anything like that. I mean, he was really a good guy. Good guy. And that's a lot of what we're saying, isn't it? But anyway, I gave up after a couple of years, and probably 4 years or so after that, my wife Jan and I were at a 4th of July party at Sonny Peace's house up on the hill there in Yazoo City. And in walked Bob Shirley and his wife. And lo and behold, we had a conversation of a lifetime. God had changed his life, and it was changed for the rest of his life thereafter. And Amzie at Second Church in Yazoo City, Amzie just came along right behind him. So I'm going to say one sentence as a result of that. Don't give up praying. Don't give up praying for somebody for whom you're really interested.
Anybody else?
I will. When we went to the funeral, 2 things struck me. His son's son looks exactly like Bob Shirley looked when we first remember him. That same little dark hair, dark skin. And I can't remember his son's name. Anyway, the one that's in New Orleans. Anyway, that was just a precious moment to see that clone of Bob Shirley. And the other thing is, I think they were all judges or lawyers that spoke at the gravesite, and they all spoke about Bob Shirley's ability to not show favoritism when he was on the bench. He was very just in his decisions. He was very thoughtful about making a decision, but once he made it, that was it. And they just really touted him as just the best judge. And friend, they just spoke his friendship. So I loved him for the funeral, but I loved him even more afterward.
Wonderful. Either his son or his grandson played at Ole Miss, football at Ole Miss.
No, that's Amsie's.
No,
That's his son.
no, that was Bob's had a son that played at Ole Miss.
Amsie does, did. No, Bob's son.
Okay, anybody else want to talk about Bob?
I'm gonna forgive Bob. I rode with Leslie to the wedding, he and I, from Stockport to Yazoo City. And my car went to South Carolina. I don't know why, but Jesse was gonna hitchhike with me to go get my car. And we found out Bob was on his way to Auburn. So we talked to Bob, I said, sure, I need you right. Well, I got a cousin in Atlanta, and we figured, oh yeah, he'll take us on to Atlanta. Well, he did. He dropped us on the side of the highway in Auburn, Alabama. And we had to hitchhike to Atlanta to get a ride. Just dumped us out of the house.
Anybody else? Hugh Ship. Little Hugh, when he was short, little short guy?
Yeah.
I remember.
Killed in Vietnam.
Anybody know Hugh that well?
I think that's right. I think he died.
Nobody knew Hugh?
Bibbo saying something.
Bebo, you know him?
I said, I think he died in Vietnam, I think, correct me if I'm wrong.
Died in Vietnam? Okay. Jimmy Smith, football manager. Now that's a pussy.
He was a mess.
Yeah,
Jimmy and Matt were best friends in junior high, maybe up through high school. One day in 8th grade, Matt B comes running, and Jimmy is right behind him with a gun. And he shoots at him. And Mackey is going, and finally Mackey falls down. It's just a gun, it's like he's got blanks or something. But it was just, everybody was just scared to death because they got in some kind of argument, you know, and all of a sudden he wants to kill him. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Don't you remember? Jeez. Who remembers that? Come on.
that's a new one. I've never heard that one before.
Where were they running? Where were
We're
they?
in the red recess, up there, across, you know, through the, next to the, tennis courts.
Anybody else? Yeah, this.
Two short stories about Jimmy. When I went to work with Allstate, they sent me to Greenville, and there was a little 10-apartment complex, and lo and behold, Jimmy has one of the apartments, and we got to be pretty good friends. I don't know how this topic came up. If you remember Jimmy, he was pretty heavy. And I don't know how we got into it, but he said when he passed away, he would only have one Paul barrel. And that would be the forklift operator. And he worked for a company called Chicago Mills, and they made shipping crates. And a casket company had sent a casket down for them to make a shipping crate for it. And it didn't have the lining in it and everything, it was just a bare coffin. And when they got through, they said, well, what do you want us to do with the casket? And they said, well, just auction it off and take it off our bill. So Jimmy, I think he was the only one who put in a bid for the casket. So he was awarded the casket, and he was going to make a stereo cabinet out of it. And so it came time for him to pick up the casket. He had a good friend at Ole Miss who also lived in the complex.